Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
That sounds cool. I like to everybody point out I'm wearing Nike apparel.
No, I sometimes do. That's.
What do you mean sometimes? It's a Nike town.
I'd say 90% of the time I do, yeah.
No, you don't. 90% of the time you're wearing that Phillies bold T-shirt.
Yeah, but it's Nike.
That's a Nike shirt?
Those shirts are Nike, yeah. So the bold one, no. The bold one is a giveaway.
Oh, okay.
So that one is not. That one is whoever gave it away.
Okay, so again, I specifically point out a shirt, and the first thing you do is you bald-faced lie.
I do. Yeah, a lot of the Philly shirts I have are Nike because Nike's got the rights to baseball. Well, Nike's got the rights to almost anything. They're like fanatics. But I think, I'm primarily a Nike guy. I agree.
Oh, you do now once you've been called out on it.
That's right.
It's like
even though the logo does not say Nike today, I'm definitely primarily a Nike guy.
All right, so let's. I'll start with Penn State, Indiana on Saturday. At the Jordan Center. After the game on Wednesday night where, let's face it, the emotion was really at a high level, and you're going to a noon game, it takes maybe a little bit sometimes to get in gear. And let's be honest, Indiana has not been playing well. It is a road game after a demoralizing home loss. It takes them a while to get in gear. Dick and I were expecting that at some point, Penn State would hit the accelerator and create a little separation. And that point was the end of the first half. Again, everybody goes, end of the game. No. There's 3 different times to win it. It was the end of the first half where Penn State put that just enough separation to create a win. Now, in the end, it's not like Indiana didn't get within 2. They did, and then Zach Hicks hit a big three-pointer. That made it 5. I mean, they always had a working margin. Once Penn State broke a 32-32 tie in the first half and never trailed the rest of the game. Never tied, never trailed. Ace played another great game. So I'm going to go at this from the Indiana point of view first. Indiana, after watching, you watched Illinois on Wednesday night. Illinois has size and they have speed. Shannon is so incredibly fast. I mean, he's running the anchor leg on the relay team every time. He is something else. And he's not the only athlete on that team. Guerrier is a good athlete. Coleman is a terrific big man inside-out passer. And what Illinois, their biggest problem is they don't have a true point guard. They have people playing the point guard spot, but they are not point guards. Okay? Indiana does not have the athleticism. In fact, in several positions, I consider them to be by Big Ten basketball standards slow. Ware is a terrific player. Getting him in foul trouble in the first half was big. Got 2 fouls, sat out a bunch of the half. That's where Penn State was able to start exploiting the middle finally with him on the bench. Mike didn't bring him back. Woodson did not bring him back. Like, okay. All right. Renew, who is an okay defender, no better than okay. He's an okay defender. He's a really good offensive player, though. And he did a lot of scoring around the basket. But here is the value, again, of the three-point shot. I always love when people say, they're taking too many threes. No. Hey, just slow down. If it's a good shot. Now, okay, you're taking too many threes if they're bad shots. I don't mean misses. That's not what I'm talking about. You can miss good shots. If it's a good shot within the offense, please take it. And the reason is simple, is the point value of it. Penn State at the 2 lines, which is the free throw line and the three-point line, outscored Indiana 53-20. Indiana actually had 5 more baskets in the game and lost by 9. Because they didn't hit a three-point shot until the last minute of the game. They were 0 for 9. At one point, they had no points from the three-point line. And then at the free throw line, in Big Ten play, I believe they're either last or next to last. I think they might be 13th in the Big Ten. Well, they could be dead last, but in conference play at the free throw line.
Yeah.
Right? So they go out and they're like, bang, knocking them down. Dick and I are like, you got to be kidding me. So we always make the running joke that how poor Penn State's free throw defense is. It's always a running joke that we have. Another lousy free throw defensive day. All right. Well, then they started missing and missing and missing. When you're trying to make a comeback, you can't have 0 for 2 at the line. They had 2 of them. All right. When you're trying to mount a comeback, you need a couple things. You can't go 0 for 2 at the free throw line when you get an opportunity when you're trying to mount a comeback, and you have to hit a couple threes. Well, they weren't hitting any threes. They were 0 for 9 until the final minute of the game. In fact, Gunn hit a 3 at the buzzer to make 12-9.
Yep.
Okay? And and if you can win the 2 lines convincingly like that, which, by the way, they did to Illinois. They won the 2 lines convincingly against Illinois, even though that high wire act was going crazy. And Shannon personally drew 11 fouls in the game on Wednesday night. 11. That's why at the end of the game, with 4.2 to go, Penn State doubled Shannon on the inbounds. They wanted to make sure he did not touch it
again. Yeah.
On that play. And that's why it was Harmon that ended up getting the ball because his guy was being used to double Shannon. So, he got loose and then, he made an attempt at the end and missed. But they doubled Shannon. And that's I'll go to the Illinois game first, then back to Indiana. Illinois is a perfect example of really terrific coaching in practice. Because if you're really well coached and guys know what you want to do in that situation, which kind of play you want to run, which options you have to run, and then what to do defensively once you do take the lead, you don't need to call timeouts. And Penn State didn't. With 18 seconds to go in the game, that ball got batted around. I think it was Jameel Brown that tipped it over to Zach Hicks. Well, Penn State doesn't call a timeout. So now Illinois is running back, and they're disorganized. And you end up with a situation where the team is disorganized and on its heels trying to scramble as you're attacking, and that's how you end up with a foul on a three-point shot. And then, remember, and I said this right before the last free throw, as soon as he tied the game, I said, remember, Illinois is out of timeouts. So what don't you want to do? You don't want to call a timeout there because guess what? That gives them a chance to organize themselves. They're already scrambling to begin with and struggling with your press. And you just turned it over to make it 89-87. So that's a well-drilled, well-coached, intelligent team that in the clutch made those kind of plays. Now we flip it over to Saturday. All right? And Penn State shot the ball well enough, but that game was the power of the three. And Penn State had 9 of them. It's not like Penn State went out and hit 19 of them and whatever. Penn State still shot, I think, 42% from three. That wins. That doesn't win every time, but that wins more often than not. And that's the power of the three. They're getting twos. Penn State would come down, and they get some twos, but then they mix in a couple of threes, and it creates a margin. And when they need it, it gets down to 2, boom, he hits a 3. Guess what? Now the math changes. Guess Okay, that means that, you're down 2 possessions, but now you have to do something you haven't done all day. You have to hit a 3. You haven't hit any all day. Really? Okay. Both teams are taking about the same amount of free throws. Maybe there's a couple extra at the end for Penn State. The 4-point play by Hicks put the game away. He's open when he catches, he fires it, and then the guy comes in late. I think it was Cups that fouled him. And he just puts it away. Where's tough? The foul trouble hurt. Mike Woodson called like 2 timeouts where Dick and I looked at it and go, what's he calling a timeout here for? Maybe it's something he saw that we didn't see. I have no idea. But the timing of it made no sense. You know who does that? Out of nowhere, Juwan Howard calls timeouts. And we're like,
more often than not.
The two of us will look at each other like, and Michigan's on an 8-0 run, timeout. Michigan. It's like you're thinking the team that's like down 8 points right away is the one that said, nope, he'll call it. Mike he did this out of Bloomington too. He'll call a timeout in a spot. Okay, all right, maybe he sees something we don't. He knows his team.
Part of it, I think, is a lot of times it's 2 things, and it makes no sense when they do it. Something that you specifically want done gets done, but not the way you expect it to. And you call timeout because you just got a feeling they're out of sync, even though they just scored 12 straight points. So they're not out of sync very clearly. That's one way. The other way, I think, is that experience at the NBA level. I just think for some reason, I've seen it where these guys go back to college and they make decisions as a coach
because they have 1,000 timeouts to work with in the NBA.
In the NBA, and that's exactly part of it. Yeah,
and then you get to the second half, you have 3.
You have 3. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and that's where I think it comes into play, but I'm not even 100% sure. But that's part of it. I think it's so structured at the next level. Well, not that it's not at college. It's so structured at the next level where you just feel like, okay, if you didn't do it the way I thought you were, I'm gonna have to call timeout, even though you're on a 12-0 run and something's obviously working. Yeah. These guys just have the mentality.
I think in the NBA you have 7 timeouts.
You have 7 timeouts.
Right?
Yep.
And they don't. You don't lose them at halftime.
No.
You have 7 timeouts.
You have to use it or lose it.
Right?
Yeah.
So they call timeout. Wait, this isn't working. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Okay, here you can't do that.
No. And for some reason, I don't know if it's brain fart or what it is, but I feel like that mentality just comes to this level for some of these guys. I've seen it, and it's just Larry Brown same way when he came back. It just there's a lot of things that. For some reason, I don't know if it's just necessarily like, okay, that's not the way I told you to do it or what it is. But if I'm coaching and it's not working the way I thought it was going to work, but you're up 35, I'm not calling a timeout. You're doing something right. That I'm going to go back at the tape and see what you're doing.
Sure.
That's I think the thing that so many of these coaches that come to the next level, and that's what I mean is come NBA back to college. For some reason, it just. They make decisions like that. I've seen it several times.
So Penn State wins. Ace played great again. Hicks played really well. Dunn played a good game. Puff Johnson came off the bench, had 8, hit a couple more threes. I don't think people realize what he's 7 for his last 11 in 3-point shots. He's not taking 5 or 6 in a game, but he'll take 1 or 2 in a game, and he's been hitting them. Q played well enough down low, which was good to see. Nick Kern plays to a standard. He's, he may not be scoring, but he's playing defense. If he's, he'll add in scoring when need be. But yeah, he's playing. He's been playing really well. So it's Iowa next. Great offense. Not a good offense, great offense. Perkins, the point guard. He's been a little bit of a shooting slump. Shot the ball better last week than Caitlin Clark did, but that's, I'll get to that in a second. Oh, no, she's 15 for her last 44. Okay, that's 34%. Okay, if you want to tell me she's shooting great, I'll get back to you. Okay, really?
Played well yesterday, aside from shooting the ball.
Oh, she didn't shoot the ball well.
No, didn't shoot the ball well at all.
again, why is she getting rebounds? Well, she's in a good spot. All right, so she got what, 12?
Yeah, she had a triple double.
But again, Illinois is behind. Long shots, right? Long shots, long rebounds. All right, and she passes the ball tremendously.
She's one of the best. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
No question. And look, this doesn't take away. Again, I don't apologize for analyzing her as a basketball player. Right. I analyze her like any other player out there.
Yeah.
I don't sit there and go. I don't sit there and go.
Yeah.
Oh, hey guys, I praised her left and right, but it's okay to point out it's the end of the season, and maybe somebody's getting a little tired here because they're 15 of the last 44 from the field. That is not by anybody's standards a good week of shooting.
No, it's not, and then that's
anybody's standards.
It's not.
Any player that is shooting 34% from the field over a stretch of games is considered to be in a slump.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
Sorry, but that's the way it goes. And remember, it was 4 games ago? It was the game before they had the Michigan game where she set the record.
She set the record.
Set the NCAA record.
Yeah.
Okay? Set the NCAA record. We'll get to that too. All right? Where she had no points and missed every shot in the fourth quarter of Nebraska.
Against Nebraska on the road,
right? I mean, you're wondering at this point, is somebody starting to get a little tired? Because she runs a lot, right? And she doesn't come out of games. It's interesting for all the for all the leads they have, she didn't come out that much. Now, the Lynette Woodard thing, I'm glad has been brought up, only for this reason, not because of Caitlin Clark, because she'll go past Lynette Woodard, okay? But it recognizes an era of women's basketball. And it recognizes an era of women's sports. So we just did the Rec Hall game. There are 2 national championship banners up there for women's gymnastics. AIAW, national champions. In fact, they were recognized this weekend at the Big Five meet. Ann Carr, the all-around national champion, AIAW, all-around national champion, by the way, participated for the United States at the Pan Am Games, right? Was also there and recognized. You're telling me in the world of women's sports that doesn't count?
Yeah.
Right? I was doing AIAW women's basketball tournament games in the early 80s, and then turned, and Rini was able to get the first ever NCAA tournament game. They played Clemson in Rec Hall, the first ever NCAA women's tournament. Remember, the AIAW National Championship, Final Four, was in Rec Hall in 1976, and Delta State won it. Right? But the first ever NCAA women's tournament game was Penn State and the Lady Lions in Rec Hall. Clemson had a player by the name of Barbara Kennedy, post player, good player. Played well that night, but Penn State won the game. But it was the first ever NCAA women's tournament game. It was in Rec Hall. Right. But does that discount AIAW? Carol Waldeman, the first game that Rini coached. So I did these games. So, I was doing Lady Lion basketball games at that time, the play-by-play of them, contrary to what some people may think. Okay. It's a different story, different day. Right? And, Carol Waldeman's points don't count. Jen Bednarik's points don't count. Annie Troyan's point, because Annie Troyan started in the AIAW era. Her points don't count. Okay? Your founders that laid the foundation are so important to how you got to this point.
I agree.
In a sport that's had to fight for inches, they were fighting for half inches back then and playing at a high level. Lynette Woodard, if I recall, she played in the Jordan Center because she was a member of the Harlem Globetrotters. Okay?
I was waiting to understand. I'm trying to figure out where you were going there.
Yeah. She was with the Harlem Globetrotters. But she scored over 3,600 points in Kansas.
Yeah.
She didn't score 3,600 points, with all due respect, at Pittsburgh State in Kansas. Her 3,600 plus were at the University of Kansas. All right? So she was playing, for the most part, terrific competition over and over again. Now, look, it doesn't mean that back in the days that you weren't playing, Muhlenberg or Sinus. Or,
Sure.
I mean, because you're trying to
Absolutely.
you're trying to
fill a schedule.
trying to fill a schedule up. It happened. Everybody was like that at that time, right? And I'm just glad it's being recognized. Except, look, Caitlin Clark will surpass it. That's not the issue here. But I'm glad it has brought up Lynette Woodard's career, so we recognize the bigger picture of what the AIAW did to push forward women's sports. And I'm just glad it's being recognized.
Yes.
And to the credit of Caitlin Clark, her records are allowing you to remember stuff like that.
That's true.
Right, let's remember her accomplishment. In other words, if Caitlin Clark is not at this point where she's accomplishing what she's accomplishing, we wouldn't even think twice about this. But the fact that Caitlin Clark has done this, it has allowed us to remember Kelsey Plum. It is allowed, who's recent, obviously, very recent, but at least remember that she had the NCAA record.
Yeah.
And it's now allowing us to remember the greatness of Lynette Woodard.
Absolutely.
Okay? And so Caitlin's doing all that with her assault on the record book, and it's making us remember, hey, wait a minute, there was more to women's basketball before the NCAA came up, right? Which is great, because she'll surpass that. That won't even be an issue. But I'm glad people are recognizing Lynette Woodard, and I do know that the game on Saturday, Kansas played Texas. And they were showing shots in the in Fog Island Fieldhouse of her on the scoring list up there. That they have a display to it. Yeah. But I'm glad about that. But
absolutely.
by any measure, she's in a little bit of a shooting slump right now. Now, game slump, so. She's grabbing rebounds. She's just such a great passer. I mean, she's a phenomenal passer.
Incredible.
Right. But they've got Ohio State. Game day is going to be at Ohio State Saturday. Or no, I'm sorry.
Sunday.
It's going to be Sunday, and game day is going to be there Saturday.
Saturday for Sunday's game.
Yeah.
It's game's Sunday, right? Yeah, I think it's Sunday.
Right. But game day is going to be there Saturday because of that. And that's a great opportunity to showcase it. And,
yeah.
I don't know what their schedule is. I don't know if they have another game this week or not. I'll be at that court tonight because Penn State's going to shoot there tonight. But
100% sure. I want to say she had 2 left, but I'm not even sure.
Well, remember the Big Ten Women's tournament starts earlier.
Yeah, and it's going to count. So
this might be the last week of the season, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
So if she has 2 left, it's going to be one in the middle of the week, right?
Yeah. So
it's probably a road game.
Yeah, Minnesota on the road. Yep.
On the road, okay.
Wednesday night.
Okay.
I think the other thing it's doing, and obviously this guy, everybody knows the name. I don't think everybody fully knows the greatness that Pistol Pete Maravich had. I think that the unbelievable talent that we unfortunately lost far too soon.
No, I remember exactly where I was.
Yeah,
I was at UMass getting ready for a game that afternoon.
Yep.
When we found out, what? Because he was so young.
Yeah, very young.
Like, holy mackerel.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Maravich, not in person, on TV. I saw Maravich play on TV.
Yep.
Wow. And I'm talking about, LSU. Okay? NBA, fine. But when you look at what he did, the passing ability, he didn't have as much talent around him. He did have a couple guys that were drafted by the NBA, but I think they got drafted by the NBA because they were with him. And the NBA draft back then was 10 rounds. Okay, so let's remember that. But the floppy socks, the hair flying all over the place, dishing the ball, taking shots. Now, Dale Brown, I don't know if this is true or not. Dale Brown was not his coach. Press Maravich, Pete's father, was the head coach at LSU at the time. They went back and looked at tapes, and they estimated he'd average 57 points a game if they had the three-point line. And we were like, that's kind of a big number. You're talking, you'd have to hit 13 threes because you're taking twos and adding another point to each one of them, right?
Yes.
Don't know about that. But he probably would average 50. And here's the other part. Why did he only play 3 years? Not because he went to the NBA early. He went to the NBA after his senior year because freshmen were not eligible to play. Now, they had a freshman team. Everybody had a freshman team. That was always the running joke at UCLA. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the freshman team kept beating the varsity team at practice every day. All right, that was always the running joke, like, UCLA never loses. Yeah, no, they actually do in practice almost every day. And I go, really? Yeah, they got this guy Jabbar or Lou Alcindor.
Alcindor at the time, yeah.
Like, okay. So, and Maravich scored over 700 points, like 750 points as a freshman in 17
like
games.
60, I was going to say 17
in
games.
17 games. In 17 games. He averaged like 44 points. I mean, same story, 44 points a game. But okay, it was interesting. Somebody took a shot at Caitlin Clark the other day about the number of shots she takes. And she takes a lot of shots.
Sure.
I mean, she's in like, 23 shots a game? No offense, that's a lot of shots. Yeah. But Maravich, he averaged in the 30s. Now, remember, when you're getting to 44 a game, you're doing it two and one at a time. You're not. There are no threes in there to get there. But yeah, but it'll make everybody remember Pete Maravich. It's. I mean, I saw the SEC Network feature on Maravich, which was really, this a couple of years ago, was really good, really well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people, I don't think fully realize he was raised in. Oh, he was raised in Carolina. North or South? North Carolina.
His dad was at NC State.
Yeah, he was born in Pennsylvania. He was born in Aliquippa.
Yeah. He was born in Aliquippa, raised down in the Raleigh area because his dad was at NC State.
Yeah, he was one of the Carolinas.
Yep, his dad was at NC State.
Yeah, just unbelievable.
Yeah. But you'll at least recognize him as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to her credit, she's, look, she's playing great.
Yeah.
Right? Is she in a shooting slump right now? Sorry, over here in the back, it's okay to be honest about what you're looking at.
It's okay to be critical, and I think that's...
It's not being critical.
It's stating a fact,
if Penn State is playing Iowa tomorrow, and Tony Perkins, their point guard, who's very good, is hit 15 of his last 44 shots, Dick and I would tell you right now he's been slumping.
Yeah.
Right? Well, what's the difference? What's the standard here? What, because nobody cares about Tony Perkins?
I think that from a national perspective, I think that's what a lot of people's attitude is, and that's why it's
just a statement of fact as somebody who's watching basketball.
Yeah.
Okay. If Perkins or Ace, right, or Malik Hall, or
somebody else
or Shepard from Kentucky is 15 of their last 44 from the field, you're entitled to say, they're really struggling right now.
Yeah.
Now, struggling is a word that is not like overly critical.
No.
It's just a statement of fact that like they're fighting it a little bit right now. Okay?
Yeah. Yep.
It's okay.
No, it is.
Okay?
There's
you
no
are
doubt
not taking shots when you say that.
No, and I think that's I think from a national perspective,
that's what I find galling about this. That's what I find galling about this is that it's a simple statement of fact in a benign way.
Yeah.
Oh, how could you say that? Well, I don't know. It's the same standard I apply to anybody else who's 15 to 44 from the field. Like, let's see if they break out of it today. But right now they're in a slump.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I look at a basketball game. It's not my job to ascend you to someplace. I mean, and that's unless you go out and turn in like, wow.
Yeah, I agree. It's to state fact sometimes.
I'll give you an example. Michael Finley one time in Rec Hall, NBA player. Mike
Wisconsin played for the Suns Mavericks. Yeah.
Played at least a dozen years in the NBA.
Quite a few. He was an all-star.
Yeah, all-star, the whole thing. Had 27 points in Rec Hall. Somebody came up to me after the game and said, oh, man. And Penn State won the game.
Yeah.
They go, boy, Finley. Whew, wow, 27 points. I said, so what? They go, well, I mean, it'd be great to have one of our guys get 27 points. And I looked over, I said, he took 27 shots.
Yeah.
They went, what? I said 27 points on 27 shots. I said, no offense, is not a good game.
No.
And the 3-point line is in.
Yeah.
Okay. I said 27 points on 27 shots. I said, by my standard, is not a good game. So you can't average a point a shot. And by the way, Caitlin Clark averages 1.4.
Yeah.
She's in the upper 1.3s now.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
But
Which, by the way, is really good. Steph Curry for his career. You know what Steph Curry averages for his career? 1.39, almost 1.4 points a shot for his career. So, in other words, that's
good.
big time.
That's great.
That's
Absolutely.
major league. Right? But it doesn't mean everybody goes through it. I mean, she could go out on Sunday or Saturday, whenever the hell they play against Ohio State.
I'm not even sure. I thought it was Sunday, but it might not be.
I don't know.
I know it's the weekend because they play, like I said, they play Minnesota, and then
right.
Yeah, but it's a home game for her because they lost.
That's the Ohio State game where she got bowled over.
The they stormed the court. Yep, I remember that. Yeah, it is Sunday. Sunday, 1:00.
Yeah, because ESPN's not going to carry it. It's going to be on Fox, right?
Yeah,
that's fine. But okay, if she goes out and she goes against Indiana, what was she, 7 for 26 or some number like that?
Yeah, they blew her out.
They are not going to win. Okay.
Nope. Okay. No, Indiana blew them out, and that's absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like I said, phenomenal. Great story.
Sure.
Best thing that's happened in women's basketball
a number of years, absolutely.
in a long time. It's great. Yeah. Not good. It's great.
Great.
But it doesn't mean you can't analytically look at a player and go, I mean, okay, I'll give you one. Okay, who had 19 points and took like 22 shots on the national championship game after carrying his team all the way to the title game on his back almost by himself? Larry Bird.
Larry Bird, yeah.
Okay? And they lost to Michigan State.
Michigan State, sure.
In fact, they lost to Michigan State by double digits.
I remember.
Right? Did Larry Bird have a good game that night? No.
Did it affect the fact he was drafted in a 3-time MVP? No. And that's the other part of it.
But did he have a good game that night?
Yeah.
No. Well, that's just called analyzing the game.
Absolutely.
I mean, he worked hard. He tried to get people open. He rebounded the ball. But in the end, he'll be the first person to tell you that by his standards, he did not play well that night.
Ted Williams in the World Series.
He hit 200.
The guy's a 400.
He hit 200.
400. He hits 200 in the World Series. Absolutely. It happens. It's literally, it's not a, I think so many people just have.
If you say anything that's even slightly not praising certain individuals, you're like, just slow down.
It goes both ways. It's that part, and then it's the, use the Brock
when Michael
Purdy,
Jordan played Penn State, he had 10 points.
Yeah.
At North Carolina.
Yeah.
In an overtime game. Did he have a great game? No. Okay. That's just the way it goes.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. He had like 50 other great games.
Yeah.
Just that night, no.
Yeah. It's both ways. Absolutely. It's that way, and then it's the other way where you are repeatedly critical of somebody.
Well, then you're going overboard.
Yeah. And then you're just waiting for that moment to where, see? And it's ridiculous.
You can't do that. It's okay to analyze something and just say, this is how it is right now.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
Indiana, we talked about, they don't have a lot of team speed.
Yep.
Okay? They don't shoot threes well.
No.
Right? These are just statements of fact.
Statements of fact. Absolutely.
Okay?
Yep.
Penn State outscored them 53-20 to 2 lines. Statement of fact. I mean, that's what you try to do on it. Like, you take the facts. And it doesn't ruin the whole? No. But in the moment, let's talk about in the moment.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in the moment right now, okay, that person there or that person there might be shooting lights out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you get somebody else that may be a great shooter and has hit a lull because they all do.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That happens.
Absolutely.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I go back to, Joe's final bowl game, Outback Bowl. Matt McGloin wasn't playing well. And first half, Penn State still had the lead. And I had to repeatedly, they should have pulled Matt McGloin for Bolden. I said, okay, for Bolden, excuse me. But you're playing coach. You have the lead. Do you pull it? Do you bench your starter? Wow. The answer is no. You don't.
And you're actually driving downfield to win the game.
To win the game.
Win the last pick.
Yeah,
now was
absolutely.
the 5th pick of the game. He is struggling.
He was struggling, yes.
He did something early in the game.
Yeah.
right? It was a play where he took and spun around and went behind and flipped the ball behind his back to Royster. And Royster took it down to like the 2-3 yard line, and Penn State scored. We're in a commercial break, so this is a little inside baseball. I looked at now in practice he would do that sometimes. And Jack looks at me and goes, "Boy, how about that play?" I says, "I don't know, Jack." I said, "I'm glad he made the play." I says, "But you know what?" I said, "Whenever he does something like that, it makes him think he can hit all of them."
Yep.
Right. I said, let's just see. And then after that, he tried forcing in a couple. I was like, ugh. Like I said, sometimes something like that's really good in the moment, but long term is not. It's like the guy. It's like the guy that is not a great 3-point shooter,
and he hits one.
Well, now he thinks he can hit another one.
Yeah.
And now he thinks he can hit another one. Right over here in the back. Not your forte.
No.
It's like, it's not your deal, right? What's that old saying that Dick and I have all the time? You are open for a reason.
Yep.
We say that all the time. All the time. Kentucky blasted Alabama. Kentucky had lost 3 straight home games at one point. Now they won a game at home since, but they lost 3 in a row at home. Right? Went down to Auburn and won. Right? And then this game, Alabama just scores and scores and scores.
Yeah.
They got blown out by Kentucky. Scored 117 points.
Yeah.
UConn played well.
Yep.
But this is where we are in the state of the game right now. Right? And this is outside influences. I'm watching the game, and Tristan Newton pointing out, we talk about Indiana not having it. I'm sorry, Illinois not having a true point guard. I mean, Cups is a true point guard. But against Ace, I thought Cups actually played better Saturday than he did at Bloomington. He didn't play great Saturday, but he played better than he played in Bloomington. The problem is when Cups goes out, Galloway, who's actually a true 3, is now having forced to play 1 and 2. So I give that guy a lot of credit. Trey Galloway is playing out of position for the betterment of the team. But Newton has 8 points, 9 assists, and he already has like 14, 15 rebounds in the game. And so Gus Johnson is on with Jim Jackson. And Gus is going on about the triple-double. Now, Caitlin Clark yesterday, her 16th career triple-double?
Yeah.
Right. So Newton's going after his 4th career triple-double. I'll watch this thing, and this is kind of interesting. Let's see if he gets there, because they're going to beat Villanova. It's not, the result is not in doubt. And they set up a couple plays, and nobody scores, so he doesn't get the assist. He missed a shot himself, so he doesn't have the 10 points. And then finally he gets fouled. And he knocks down 2 free throws. Well, now he's got the 10 points. And Gus says, and they're all rising here at the Campbell Pavilion, right? And Gus starts talking about the betting line on him getting a triple-double. I'm thinking to myself, I never in my dreams, in my career, thought I would hear people talk about the betting line on a triple-double for an individual player in a game that's a blowout.
No.
All right? And finally he got the ball to Cam Spencer, and Spencer hit the 3, so he got the assist, so he got the triple-double. Yay, great. Yeah. And they're talking about, the bettors out there. And then Jim, and I did a couple games with Jim in my career, so my respect for him is off the charts. He's just a great guy. And Jim says, he says, got to admit, he says, some things that we would subtly refer to years ago, he says, we can openly say now. I thought, well, that's very true. That is very, very true. Oh, goodness gracious. It's amazing how all that stuff has changed.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Combine week.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, we didn't talk about court storming. What happened to Filipowski was wrong.
Absolutely.
All right. But here's the issue you have. who loves court stormings? The schools. Okay, because it looks so good.
Uh-huh.
And all those people complaining on TV, guess who loves it? TV loves it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's my stamp, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but your network's going to carry it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In fact, they're going to show it on SportsCenter over and over and over again. Okay.
Sure are.
All right. Now, what do you do about it? And that includes field stormings for football.
Same. Pulling the goalpost down. Yep.
I haven't seen the goalpost pulled.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Right? That was in the 80s. That was a big issue.
Yeah.
That was a big issue in the early 80s. And there was a Harvard-Yale game, and I think Yale won. And so they stormed on the field at Yale Bowl. And they pulled the goalpost down, and it hit a co-ed in her head. And she was hospitalized for a period of time. And that's when it kind of came to like, hey, guys.
Yeah, knock it off.
I mean, I remember Penn State, Nebraska, and maybe it was Penn State Notre Dame, where they not only took down the goalpost in Beaver Stadium, but they carried it down College Avenue.
Yep.
Well, they finally said that has to stop. And you notice they'll put security around them, right? But they said that has to stop. And it is, and it has stopped. I haven't seen goalposts being torn down anymore. But you'll still have people go on the field, and the schools happily accept the fine because you do get fined for it. Everybody remembers the scene at the end of the Penn State-Ohio State game in 2016.
Yep.
Where it was just, and look, it's a show of joy.
Yeah.
Right? But here's one of the issues you have today. Right? So let's go back to Caitlin Clark when they stormed the court at Ohio State. Okay? Caitlin Clark's trying to run off the court and get to the locker room. Well, the girl that hits her, what's she doing? Is she looking at anybody? No, she has her phone up and she's videoing it because she wants to put it on her social media or whatever. Look, hey, here I am, the whole thing, da-da-da. And, right? She doesn't do anything to avoid her. She just comes out like a steamroller and is not even paying attention to anybody around her. And Clark's trying to get to the locker room and banged her. Well, okay, if she doesn't have the phone in her hand and the whole thing is just trying to be a part of it, she'd have stopped and let her go by and keep going in all likelihood, right? Or at least found a way to go around her. But she's not paying attention. And the same thing, you watch the Wake Forest kids on Saturday on the floor. They're all like, with their phones and the whole thing. Filipowski's getting spun around like a top out there because nobody's paying attention.
Big part of it.
I mean, nobody's paying attention. Right? They're all looking at life through the phone. Hey, look, social media, go. Hey, look, guess what? You just took one of the best players in the country. You just spun him around like a top and he hurt, Now, it can't be that bad. He walked out and certainly talked to the media. Okay? What do you do about it? Well, what do you do about it? First of all, the season ticket holders are not the ones that stormed the court. They join later. Right? They join a little bit later. Okay? But you know where the students sit. You have a nationally ranked game where the possibility exists, especially if Duke is in your building. You don't put extra security just like, hey, up, around.
Enough to at least intimidate.
Right?
Yes.
Okay? And then once they leave the floor, boom, turn them loose.
Yeah.
That's okay. Turn them loose. Okay? Because remember Wisconsin. What's the first thing I told you after Wisconsin? What's the first thing I looked at when they stormed the floor? I wanted to see if Wisconsin got off the floor. That's the first thing I looked at. Did Wisconsin get off the floor? Okay. And that's exactly what I said. That's the first thing I looked at. That's because I wanted to make sure they were okay. Because it's a mosh pit out there. And you have to understand in something like that what could happen. Always have to anticipate something. So you're playing, if you're playing, you already have security in Beaver Stadium to begin with, plus you got to fly over the wall to get down there too. That's why you'll see a lot of these stadiums. There are two reasons why they lower fields. One is for better sight lines for the people in row one.
Yep.
Right? That's one. The other one is, go ahead, jump down there, see how it goes.
See how it goes. Exactly.
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead, jump down, see how it goes. All right. But you already know it's a big game. If Penn State's playing UMass, Delaware, right, you're like, you're going to storm the field, please. No. But if they beat Ohio State, okay, you have to anticipate that week. Okay, guys, let's see how it goes. I remember that night in 2016. They had extra people on. They did, because they anticipated it. They did a good job. It's the same thing with the situation at Wake Forest. You have to have extra people on there with the ability to like, hey, guys, no. Okay? And then once Duke clears, let him go out there. It's okay. At that point, you can let him go. Right? Because the atmosphere of a college game cannot be topped. The NBA cannot top the atmosphere of a college game. The NFL cannot top the atmosphere of a college football game. It's just different. The bands, the fans, the pride in the front of the jersey, everything. Right? And I don't want to take that away. Now, look, I am a big proponent, obviously, of the field is the field. I told you the Kent Colby story, right? Right? I'll repeat the Kent Colby story for you. If you watch the last out of the World Series against Baltimore in 1979, Colby, and he was telling this story in Williamsport when I was there last month. Pat Kelly, Leroy Kelly's brother, I believe, a great running back for the Browns. Pat Kelly hits a fly ball to center field, and Omar Moreno makes the catch. Everybody's jumping around the whole thing. They come out. It's great. I think Steve Nicosia was the catcher. All right, runs out, grabs the Colby, jumping up and down. And then if you watch the video further, you see Colby upset, looking around, because some knucklehead fan comes out onto the field and took his hat. Well, that hat had all the Willie Stargell stars on it. So to Colby's, he said, mine was easy. He said, every win, every save, I got a star in there. He says, so that's like, he says, it's my hat. So he's all mad and upset, and then somebody tried to take Nicosia's helmet off his head, and Nicosia took the guy and pinned the guy down on the ground until he got his helmet back. Finally, a security guard in Baltimore, to his credit, found the guy and the hat, and returned it to Colby. Colby said, I literally had it in my hands for 5 minutes in the clubhouse, and the Baseball Hall of Fame people came over and said, hey, we'd like to have your hat for the display. And he goes, here. He says, my hat's in the Hall of Fame. All right. But a fan comes out and takes his hat. What the hell are you taking his hat for? Why are you trying to take Steve Nicosia's helmet? Yep. Why are you out there? First of all, the game's in Baltimore. It's not in Pittsburgh.
All right.
What are you doing out there?
Yep.
It's like the two fans that run out when Hank Aaron hits the home run. What are you doing out there?
I remember.
It's the fourth inning? The fourth inning of the game?
That was awful.
Hits the home run off Al Downing. He's rounding second, and these two guys, like, what are you doing?
I remember that.
Get off the field. God. It is something that is different about it. There is a safety factor about it, which is very important. And we have to think about the safety of the opposing team. You also have to think about the safety of your team, too, because, overzealous fan. Like, in other words, that it could have been an Ohio State player. I mean, that girl was paying no attention at all. It could have been an Ohio State player, one of their stars that, boom, knocked down, right? Because she's out there with the phone running out there, hey, look at what I said. No idea where she's going. None, zero, zip, zilch, right? And you watch the people in the Wake Forest thing, they have no idea. They have no idea Filipowski's out there. I mean, he claimed it was deliberate, but he claims it was deliberate. I'm like, I don't think so.
I don't think it was.
Yeah. Now, do I think there are a couple guys there that saw it was him? Look, he is the star. And plus, the team that lost is not in a good mood to begin with.
Right.
It's interesting. I mean, John Shire, this has to stop, so forth. Look, hey, remember Mike Krzyzewski complained about this years ago.
Years ago. I remember this.
Remember, Duke usually loses, on average, about 3 to 7 games a year. All right? And usually 3 or, one of them usually is in a tournament, whether it's the ACC tournament sometimes, and usually in the NCAA tournament. Doesn't mean, look, they've won 2 in this century, so, I mean, all the other years they lost. Okay? So it's like you have more losses than wins in terms of years ending. All right? And they'll have a couple a year under Mike where they lost on the road. Well, you're Duke. It's a gigantic deal.
Mm-hmm.
So they were subject to a court storming every year by somebody, unless they had an undefeated year, right? Which has to wear on you like, oh, great, here they come. Great, great, great. Fabulous. So I understand where he's coming from.
Sure.
Right? It's okay. That happens. I mean, when Loyola beats Towson, is a court storming in the game? No. Right? In fact, I'm not even sure they have enough people at a game like that would fill the student section at the Jordan Center. But am I advocating course? I mean,
No.
let me put it this way. I think it has to get to a point with a program where you walk in the building and like, all right, they beat 5th ranked whomever. And I walked in expecting them to win. Okay? Part of court storming is you didn't expect them to win.
Right.
Okay? Part of field storming is I didn't expect you to win.
One thing I never understood, and this is part court storming, but the other part of it is just fans. What is the point of yelling overrated when you just beat the top team in the country?
You're so stupid.
Exactly. You're hurting your own victory there as a fan. That's never understood that one. Completely never understood that one.
Yeah, overrated.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you just beat them.
So in other words, your win isn't really that good.
Yeah, never understood
Your win isn't really that good.
Never for 1 second understood that.
That's why I always talk about, and have for a long time, about when you beat somebody, all right, you look at and say to yourself, that's an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, you accomplished something here. That's an accomplishment, right? Winning's hard.
Absolutely.
Beating great teams is really hard. Savor it.
Agreed.
Okay? And I've always said, don't savor it by putting the other guy down. Oh, we're way back. I understand the pride. I got it. But guess what? It's a great win. Penn State beat Illinois the other night. That is a great win. Right? You follow it up with Indiana when the whole world's like, hey, let's see how flat they're going to be. Terrific win. It's a great week. Guess what? Season didn't end. Got to play tomorrow night. Right? So yes, I will get to see the 22 on the floor tonight at practice.
There you go.
I won't see you till Wednesday.
That's true. I know.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
I see celebration going on out there.
I apologize.
Boy,
I just had this moment of happiness. I couldn't. All right. We'll talk to you on tomorrow. We'll have a couple of guests. Mike DeCourcy being one from Sporting News, talking about everything set up in the NCAA tournament. The bottom line is, to me, right now at this stage, here we are as we do this on February the 26th, UConn, Purdue, and Houston, no matter what happens, they're the top three seeds because there's a separation, a big separation between the first three seed, number one seeds, and whomever the fourth is, which might be Arizona right now, maybe. We'll see. But there's a separation between those three and where the fourth number one seed is. I mean, you'd have to have a dramatic collapse in the top three to have any of them move a line, in my opinion. All right. So those interviews tomorrow, and then back live with Captain Excitement. Can't wait to see what you're wearing on Wednesday here in Seven Mountains Media.